Hello, this is Michèle at Jasami Bookworm Podcast, and I am so excited to say that on this Halloween day, we have Chapter 2 of the scary story, Demon's Fair, read by the author Paul Wandrum. And here is Paul.
It had been during last night's mysterious phone call that Terry Doyle had finally got back in touch with not only his former spiritual mentor, but also his truest friend after a decade. Now, the two men were getting off a bus together at the corner of West Millers Avenue and heading towards the 18th century red sandstone building that was Millers Park Christian Community Church Hall. A barrage of worrying thoughts plagued Pastor Hugh as he walked slightly ahead of Terry and squeaked open the freshly crimson-painted iron gates with their dangerously sharp and almost unwelcoming arrowed spikes. "You'll remember the old gate well, eh?" Hugh asked, whilst undoing a padlock. "I do indeed," said Terry, his voice crumbling to a whisper. "I remember the first day Anne brought me down here to meet you. Well, David must have been only about 5 at the time. Do you remember how you started greeting just at the sight of this gate? You thought you were taking him to a haunted house?" "Aye, that he did," said Terry, grinning reminiscently at the faded memory of what felt like a previous life. They both climbed the first couple of steps leading to the church's entrance. It was an arched doorway with 2 faded engravings on either side. On the right, a saint-like figure with a halo held across a shaped item in one hand and a fiery torchlight in the other, while on the left, an engraved creature resembled a large demonic bat with horns. Terry stood directly between both and wondered what image called to him more these days. He wished to confess to Hugh exactly what the engravings meant, but that would be like revealing to someone who loves life that they may just have to die a lot sooner than they thought. He was on a mission to heal his soul, to warn those of the coming danger in the days ahead. For a moment, however, briefly, he wished to spare his friend the news of what evil lurked in the shadows. Hugh, noticing the painted looks in his friend's eyes, continued, "As you might remember me saying once, those gates have been here since the construction of the earlier church building, way back in 1771. Terry pulled himself away from the gate and nodded. "That's very impressive, Hugh. You should look into writing something about the building, you know. They might even publish it in the local history section of the paper. People love buildings and monuments for a story, you know." "A story just like you have today, aye?" asked Hugh, his tone unconvinced. He furrowed his brow and glared down at Terry on the step below him. "Well, aye," said Terry, sounding slightly angered and defensive. "It's no made up. Hugh, are you needing me to try and assure you if my story is true or something?" "You haven't assured me of nothing, pal." "And beyond those doors, approximately 10:30 will be the big audience you asked for, which may also include your former wife and boy." After hearing these harsh words from his friend and mentor, Terry came to a sudden halt on the steps. He then finally decided to ask the question he had been dreading an answer to since he stepped off the train. "For a man who I once knew to have a lot of faith in me, you don't believe a word that comes out of my mouth anymore, do you, Hugh?" Hugh stared at the look of emptiness and loss in the eyes of the man he was trying to fully trust, but couldn't. Nothing made sense. Everything pulled at the faith he once had for his friend. "Go ahead then," Terry continued. "Tell me to my face that you think I'm lying. You've changed for the worse. You used to never hold things back. Years ago," Terry said, a voice that was now beginning to break with disappointment. "Look, I don't think you're completely lying, but, nah, you do, you. Back when I joined this church, you told me to always tell the truth and shame the devil. Well, that's what I'm here to do today. Not for my sake, but for everyone else's. You all need to be warned. You don't know the things I've seen. The things which you drive you and others mad. I'm shattered you're not taking this seriously yet, but..." "Oh, come off it, son. Will you?" Pastor Hugh yelled at him, the way a dad does when trying to deal with a boy that is going off the rails. Terry hadn't exactly looked at Hugh as a father figure. He never had, but more as a wiser big brother he secretly wanted to replicate. Hugh leaned closer and looked around cautiously so no one was in earshot. I mean, God forgive us, I hate using words like this, but for fuck's sake, man, can you actually hear yourself, Terry? Why? What's the matter? Are you just praying the story I tell us and going to be some made up sub story or something? I put together a mask of some midlife crisis love affair I must have been having, Terry said, his voice raised. Hugh threw down his set of clunky keys and pointed an accusative finger at Terry. Well, what in the name of fucking were we all supposed to think then? I mean, you just phoned me out of the blue and you expect me to answer all your prayers? To accept what little of this story you've mentioned? Did you know that? Do you know that after you vanished? We spent 6 long years trying to find what might have happened to you, Terry. Terry lowered his head. Look, Hugh, I'm grateful and all, but just shut it and listen. Even when the police gave up after 2.5 years, every member of this church, including myself, Gloria, and that wonderful woman you used to have the great privilege of calling your wife, never gave up hope, pal. Hugh picked up the keys and clutched them tightly in his hand. I'm sure hope this story of yours heals the rift you put between everyone you loved, Terry, because you and your boy were in bits after you left. I mean, come on, as if they hadn't just been through enough after your wee Shauna passed away. God rest her, he said, making a sigh of the cross. For the last time, for love, Terry paused, rubbing his forehead as though contracting a mad migraine. I never just decided one night to run away from my family, Hugh. If you and Gloria and every good Christian member who attends this morning will just hear me out, I'm sure you'll understand that I simply need a choice in the matter.
Well, what is going to happen next? In order to find out, you'll have to just purchase the book. So you can get it on Amazon or pop onto Jasami website and look up Paul Wandrum. In the meantime, it's Halloween. I wish you a very scary Halloween. And on the 2nd of November, don't forget, at the Britannia Panopticon, there is a launch Judith Bauer's book, The Magic Lantern. I think they might have 1 or 2 of the limited editions left, maybe. Definitely paperbacks will be available for a signature and purchase on the day. 2 o'clock at the Britannia Panopticon. Don't miss it. And until then, I wish you all a sunny day.